My name's Alexis King, and I want to tell you a little bit about where I sit, because this seat changed everything. I didn't grow up in a faithful household. I lived so much of my life in fear, with anxiety that made it hard for me to get out of bed in the morning. I had a good job, I lived in the city, I had great friends, and from the outside, things should have been wonderful, but I was really in a low place for a lot of years. So I started looking around at people in my life that had hope and joy and strength, and started trying to figure out where they got it from. And so many of those people got it from their faith. So I did a Google search of churches in Philadelphia, and the Block Church came up. And on Vision Sunday of 2019, I came to the Block Church for the first time. When I got to our Port Richmond location that Sunday morning, I valeted my car, which was new to me as well. But when I got out of the car, I was welcomed with such a smile by someone on the sidewalk. I think I told them, listen, this is my first time. I was definitely nervous, but I knew I was taking a really important step. The most impactful thing about being there that morning was the way I was welcomed. They didn't care where I had come from. They didn't care what my past looked like, but they just wanted to not only hear my story, but be a part of it. I met Pastor Grace for coffee, I think the Thursday afterwards, and we just had such a candid conversation around who I was and what I wanted my journey to look like. And she immediately invited me to her block group that was starting that next week. A couple weeks after my block group had started, I was taking a journey to Florida to meet with my sister at her rehab center and seeing her for the first time in over 3 years, which was a really tough step for me to put myself out there with her, to open up those lines of communication again. I have been impacted so greatly by this experience and by this place that I wanted my family to share in that. I wanted my family to feel what I felt and see why it's so important to me that we walk this together. Because of the community that I had and the way that people walked with me and the way that I felt so uplifted and supported, I never missed a Sunday. I was there every Sunday in the morning, even if I was traveling. Center City had evening services that allowed me to still be there and be present and be in this community, and that's where I met Maria.
I'm Maria and This is my seat, and this seat has changed everything for me. I'm from a very large Italian Roman Catholic household. All we knew was pasta and Jesus on Mass on Sundays. To say that my life has been transformed and that I'm a different person is an understatement. For anyone that has ever met me prior to 2018 would be shocked and are currently in a state of shock to see what my life has become. I felt like everyone was out to get me. Everything was everybody else's fault and not my own. I was very cold and skeptical in the similar way I was when I walked into the Block Church and saw people raising their hands for the first time. I was concerned about what others thought. I was very judgy. That's how I lived my life. I lived my life in a state of, I have to protect myself, head always on a swivel. I'm the only person that can get myself out of a situation, and I just had to constantly, keep my head above water, and that everything was going to go negatively, and I was just there to fight off the negativity. So my sister invited me to go to this church with her, and they just happened to meet at my dad's hall. My father owns Richmond Hall in Port Richmond, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll go check this out and see what I'm getting myself into. So walking into the Block Church for my first time, I remember I sat on the right-hand side and with my sister, and I just felt like I had no idea where I was, right? I was like, this is not church. This cannot be my God. There's smoke and there's lights and there's music and people are having a great time and they're putting their hands up, and I just was such a skeptic as to what was I walking into. But once I sat down and Joey came on the screen and started preaching, I just felt an overwhelming sense of comfort and relief to know that he was preaching from the Bible and he was interpreting it so I can understand it and apply it to my life. So I'm a block group leader now, and I needed some recruits for my group. So I decided to go down and check out the Center City location. And when I got to Center City, Grace introduced me to Alexis.
And when service ended, Maria offered to give me a ride home. And we got in the car and just started to talk about, why we had been at church that day, how long we had been coming to the block, kind of what our journeys had looked like. A couple weeks later, we caught up for lunch, and I immediately joined the block group that she was leading. It really felt like she was this missing piece in my life that really got where I had been, but also where I was going. I had been inviting my mom to come to church with me. She was seeing the transformation in me, and I really wanted her to experience that for herself. So the Fillmore was super enticing. It being at that venue and being on such a big scale, I'd been talking about how big of an event, how exciting it was going to be, and she was excited to come.
So when the Fillmore started to come up, I got so excited. I wanted to invite everybody and anybody that I knew. I really took the challenge of inviting people and inviting the Fillmore 5, but I went a little bit overboard because that's what I tend to do, and I decided to invite 25 people, which I wrote down every single person's name and put it in my Bible and went to the prayer walk and prayed over their names, and I was just expecting God to move in their life.
I was serving that day and really wasn't able to sit with her, but Maria came with a huge squad of people, and she really said, have your mom come sit with me and my family. I was backstage, so I wasn't able to see everything that was going on. I kept peeking out just to see if she was liking it, what was going on stage. And Pastor Joey was preaching from the stage, and Maria had texted me towards the end of service and just said, your mom raised your hand for salvation. And I just was backstage weeping, just so excited that she had experienced this and she saw the power of what I had felt. You have a seat here. You are welcome here. And the seat that you're in can be an entire change for you, like it was for me. It was a step of courage for me to come here for the first time, allowing me to be vulnerable when I was probably a little bit scared to, but that vulnerability turned into relationships, turned into softening my heart, to allowing me to really be free from everything that held me back before.
If I was gonna lose everything today, I have no fear because my God has me and He has given me the community that I need to get through anything. I'm Maria and This is my seat, and this seat has changed everything for me.
I'm Alexis King, and my seat has changed everything for me.